When we look for something in particular, we are turning our eyes away from others. Can we approach thoughts, feelings, incidents, the poetry of saints, and the greatest words ever spoken in the history of mankind without looking for something? What will this focusless exploration lead to? Let's find out. Namaskar, everyone. Welcome to my podcast, Looking for Nothing with Mandar. You might have read a lot of poetry of saints, books by philosophers, thinkers, masters, gurus, and they always talk about enlightenment, they talk about mukti, bhakti, moksha, and so many things. Today, I'm going to talk about the doha of Kabir, which beautifully summarizes what enlightenment is and what are the ingredients of enlightenment. Because what I have read and what I have come across, I think you don't get full picture in one line at one place. Everyone has said, every master has said, every teacher has said that it's all very simple. You just have to be yourself, you have to be in the moment, let go, don't try to be something, don't try to become, just be. But instead of all this complex vocabulary, jargons, and apparently simple things which are very difficult, I thought this Doha of Kabir, it's very interesting, and it actually summarizes all the key ingredients of what can be called as bhakti, enlightenment, moksha, nirvana, and all of that. So this Doha of Kabir says, Deepak Pavak Aniya. Of course, I will explain the meaning of every word after I read this Doha. So Kabir says, Deepak Pavak Aniya, Tel bhi Anya Sang. दीपक पावक आणिया तेल भी आण्या संग तीन्यू मिलकर जोइया उड़ी उड़ी मरी पतंग. Now let's go through each word again. Kabir says Deepak Pavak Aniya. Deepak is a lamp, Pavak is fire. So Kabir is saying Deepak Pavak Aniya. So a lamp and the fire are brought together. Tel bhi aanya sanga. Some oil is also brought together. तीनों मिलकर जोइया. Now all of these three are burnt together. Joiya means jalana, to burn. Udi udi pade patanga. Udi udi means jumping in this fire, and patang means small insects, that gather around the light. That when you bring together a lamp, fire, and oil, and when you burn, the insects will fly into that light and they would just burn away. What is he saying? So these words, like Deepak, light, fire, these come again and again in many of Kabir's bhajans and many of poetry and padas of different saints. To put it in a very simple language, Deepak, or that lamp, is the body. So whenever this word comes, pot, which is ghat, a lamp, they generally imply our body. Fire can be a bit tricky because fire can be, interpreted in different ways. There are two very, very common meanings. One is, of course, knowledge, because knowledge is said to burn your ignorance. So whenever there is a reference to fire, the saint is generally talking about knowledge. At the same time, fire has also been used as a metaphor for viraha, for separation, the fire of separation. And the third key ingredient is tel, which is oil. The oil actually stands for our maya and mamta into this entire world, our sneha, our prem, love, attachment, and all of that. So Kabir is saying when all these three things come together and when they are burnt, in that fire, the insects, now these insects are our desires, our ambitions, our thoughts, things that distract us. So the impurities, in our thinking. So insects mean, these impurities. But Kabir is saying once you set this fire up, they will rise, these thoughts, these ideas will rise, but they will immediately burn. This fire will burn them out. It looks a simple doha, but I think it talks a lot about the whole process of enlightenment and the whole chemistry of enlightenment. Let's go into all of it again. So when Kabir is saying body, the deepak, the lamp is your body, he's not just talking about, that the body which we live in, but he's saying that this body is the vessel. This body is your means to attain, enlightenment, to attain mukti, bhakti, by burning this fire. So if the lamp is not good, it will break in the fire. It will get burnt by the fire. And if you have read Osho books, you will find many examples where Osho says, that the body couldn't bear the shock of the enlightenment and that person basically just died. And in many literature, about sadhana, practice, yoga, we come across these metaphors, that and some examples where they say ki first you have to prepare your body. Preparing the body is actually preparing the lamp so that it can hold that fire. So that is one part. So Kabir is saying that you will need to work on your body and bring it to that place where it can hold that fire within. So that is first part. Second part is this fire. Now we spoke, that this fire can be interpreted either as the fire of viraha or fire of knowledge. It's very interesting to note that in some very authentic texts of Kabir, Gyan and Viraha always come together. So knowledge and the fire of separation, he talks about them together because they are either a cause or effect of each other. So if you are a Jnana Margi, through Jnana you will come to realize that you have created a fragmentation. And that will give rise to Viraha. And if you are a Bhakta kind of person, and I know the word Bhakta is being used in many ways, but I'm looking at it from the point of view of Bhakti. So if you are a true Bhakta, at some point that Viraha will lead you to knowledge. But what Kabir is saying is no matter what your entry point is, until you complete this whole process, if you start with Viraha, you will stumble upon knowledge. If you start with knowledge, you will stumble upon Viraha. But in any case, the person who is in between, he's not happy. In so called, how the word happiness is defined. And that's why Kabir also has this doha, Sukhiya sab sansar hai, khaye aur soye, Dukhiya das Kabir hai, jage aur roye. So Kabir is saying the one who has the slightest of the knowledge that, I have created a fragmented identity of myself, which is not true. This I that I have created is not true. That person will not be happy. That person will live a normal life, but he will not get drenched in the things around. He will do everything as part of life, but he will not be attached to those things. And that person might not look happy. And that's why even in Ashtavakra Mahagita, he uses this word udas for Gyani. He says that a truly Gyani person is actually udas. You won't see him like bubbling with joy and, engaging with everything in the life and around, because that peace, in a way, which is peace out of ignorance, that has been destroyed for that person. Of course, what happens later after that process is complete, we'll come to that. But till then, it's a difficult path for that person. And the third ingredient is this oil, this tail. It's a tricky word actually, because Kabir is saying you need sneha to burn this fire. Now, look at it from this point of view. If you don't have that maya, that mamata, that love inside you, the process is not, it will not start. The fire cannot be started without that oil being there. And at the same time, that oil is what attaches you to the entire world around you. So Kabir also says, in one of his other bhajan, he says, "Jab meri mamata mari mari jaye, tab prabhu kaaj sawar na aaye." So he's saying that when my mamta, it dries, when it burns, then only the grace of God comes to my help. But you cannot get rid of that mamta just like that. So, as Kabir is saying, you will have to burn it properly with the fire of either knowledge or that separation. And only then you will set that fire up, in which your chitta pravrutti will be burnt completely. Now, Kabir doesn't stop there. He also describes what happens to that person who is going through that fire. He says, Hirda bhitari dau bale. Now, dau is davagni, which means that fire. So he says, when that fire is burning in your heart, dhuva pragata na hoi. The smoke will not appear outside. So that person inside whom that fire is being burnt, the person sitting next to that person won't be able to see that smoke. That person is burning from inside, but that smoke is not visible. Jaake lagi sau lakhe. The one who is burning, only that person will know ke jihi lai soi, or the one who has set that fire. So Kabir is saying that only the person who is burning, or the person who has set someone else on the fire, and that person is your guru. So who is bringing this lamp and this tail and everything together? Kabir is saying that person is guru. Everyone will have these ingredients to some extent. Everyone has a body. Everyone has mamta. Everyone has some knowledge, some gyan, some sense of reality, understanding, awareness, and all of that. But even if you bring together fire, lamp, oil, everything, there is a process to set it up and then start it. Otherwise, then as Kabir says, it will burn the lamp, the wick will burn out, and the oil will remain, and it's a abnormality. And many times we see this abnormality when a person walking on the path, if something goes wrong, there are abnormalities also. And that's why guru is so important. There is one more beautiful doha in the same series and sequence. Kabir says, "Ahedi dao laiya, ahedi dao laiya, mruga pukare roi. Ahedi dao laiya, mruga pukare roi, जा बन में क्रीड़ा करी, दाहत है बन सोई." It's so beautiful. He's saying when Ahidi means a shikari, a hunter. So Kabir is saying when that hunter sets that whole jungle on fire, the mrug, the senses, who were earlier playing in that same forest, they were enjoying that forest. They were running across, eating the fruits of that forest. And now they're crying and they're saying, take me out of this forest. They're getting burnt in that fire. So Kabir is saying that is what a Sadguru does. He will put you on fire. And that fire will be so intense that it will kill all those, insects inside. And the Jivatma, that Jeev inside you, that Jeev will cry for the help. And then Kabir himself says, Birahini jalti dekh ke sai aaye dhai, बिरहिनी जलती देख के साई आए धाई, प्रेम बूंद छिड़काई के जलती दे बुझाई. And he's saying that the moment you start burning, he will know. And prem bund chidkai ke, he will sprinkle the droplets of true love on you, and he will extinguish that fire for you. I think when it comes to summarizing a lot of things and packing them together in least number of words, no one beats Kabir. He has actually documented the entire chemistry of enlightenment in these 2 lines. I think one just has to keep spending more and more time with these words, try to understand these words, and when that Sadguru appears, he will set everything on fire.